Ty, where we going?
Spokane, Washington, man. That's where we're headed.
A little bit about my background in ranching. I got, I'd say about 4 years when I was younger, 5 years when I was a younger kid, raising livestock such as cattle, chicken, and beef. We also raise pigs growing up, and that's my real big thing that I do now. Primarily raise Berkshire pork and Duroc pork.
I started powerlifting, bodybuilding, and trying to get strong and big, and then I made it a career. And at the same time, my mom was in the hospital all the time, getting sick. Doctors didn't know what was wrong with her. We kind of go down this health journey as a family, and we found out like how bad the food is and different things. And me training athletes and me trying to be a competitive athlete, I wanted the best nutrition that I could because I knew it was showing results. And they both merged for health and for output and performance. They collided together, and when COVID happened, you couldn't find food as good, and I was like, I just need to raise it myself, know what the animal's eating, know what the animal's gonna be, how it's gonna be taken care of, and the opportunity arose to do it myself, so I jumped on it and I dove in head first. I just started researching it more, and I found out that the cattle was actually good for like our climate. They're resistant, they're hardy, they don't need to be in a cold climate to grow well like Angus do. And I was like, I gotta figure this out. This is the only cattle I want to do. So people have cholesterol problems, people that are being told they can never eat red meat, gallbladder problems, all these different things, like they're not gonna have that issue eating this meat. And they just went along with trying to raise a high quality, healthy, nutrient-dense meat that you can sustain and live off for the rest of your life.
Our expectation is we're to learn, gain knowledge, keep learning to bring it back to what we're doing and implement practices that he's doing here and what we're doing over there. Got to keep the integrity of the product high, integrity of the animal still there, and just come out here and learn and take home some cattle.
It's very important to me that we see the animals before we make an investment like this. I want to see that the animals come from, at least a type of management similar to mine, that they're out on pasture, they're hardy animals, they're living a life that mimics close to Mother Nature, close to what I'm going to be doing. Because you can get animals that were raised in a barn their whole life, and then I'm going to put them out on pasture, and they're not going to thrive in that type of environment. And the other thing is we want to see the care, see the numbers, you could say, right? You can see the shape of the cow, you can hand select, because not every cow is the same. But the other thing is it's just a huge investment. A lot of people don't know cattle is such a long-term gain. You're looking at 3 years before you see something hit the plate of the product come to a customer like that. It's not like chicken that's, an 8-week turnaround, 12-week turnaround. So it's super important to come out and see. I don't think I would ever buy a large livestock animal without seeing it first.
We're taking it to another level, not only providing an animal or a unique style of beef, we're providing something that most can't get. We're bringing it from Italy all the way to the States and California. Meeting Justin, Owens, and Brian, his ranch hand, was a very unique situation, considering they're both just like us, same age, same drive, same willing to keep pushing forward with this full-blood Piedmontese. They got a very unique area that they're running animals on. These guys are up to something very, very big.
I was really born into Piedmontese with my grandparents. I grew up on their farm, and for me, that was just the breed of cattle that they had, and that was kind of normal to me. I thought that was just all cattle for a long time. I would check cows with my grandparents. He and I would go out and, take care of newborn calves, and I didn't really get involved with the operation until I was in college, and my grandpa and I started rebuilding the farm and the herd that he had in the 80s and 90s. My grandfather started going up to Canada in the mid-80s to really hand-pick the foundational cows that laid the legacy for our farm and a little bit for North America, just the volume of bulls that he brought into the U.S. to try to get more people started. He really built up an amazing treasure trove for us to tap into later on, because he would flush embryos in the 90s. And when I came along and really got involved, he had 500 embryos in nitrogen tanks, thousands of units of semen that had already come from grand champion cows, national grand champions that he had taken to shows in the US, in Canada, and he really developed an impressive herd a lot earlier than other people. He brought that knowledge of pedigrees and heritable attributes into his cattle operation that really supercharged his herd in terms of, the motherability of the cows, the conformation of the cows, the fertility, just all of the productive aspects that you want in a herd. He was able to tap into passing that on to each generation of calves.
I love everything about grazing and raising cows, and especially raising them with the aspect of trying to regenerate the land and leave the farm better than when we started. And there's no day that's typical. That's one thing about agriculture, but specifically animal agriculture, is there are chores you do every day, but no day is ever the same. The seasons change, they need different things. In the wintertime, it's pretty typical feeding, checking cattle, making sure everything's good, checking water. Winter's the most routine season here, but then you move into calving and checking cows and making sure calves are all good. Everything's crazy. We're checking fence, fixing fence, moving cows every day. Nothing's really typical, but the chores that need to be done every day are usually the same. For feeding, in the summer, we got to move cows every few days. That's one of the best parts about it, is if you like solving problems and challenges, and every day's, there's something different that happens. Just managing the pastures and moving cows around, that's probably the biggest challenge. It's not necessarily the hardest thing. You're doing a lot of mental gymnastics trying to figure everything out and time things right for cows to be grazing, and then we will AI a big chunk of the herd, so we need them close to our facility. So we have to manage, like, cows have to be here, but at this time in 3 weeks they got to be back at the barn, and then they also need a pasture while we're here. So a lot of it's just managing the cow herd on pasture, where they're going to be, when they need to be there, and going to the next place, and how we can accomplish all that. What we're trying to accomplish moving the cows is optimizing how much of the grass we take off and how much we leave, and moving to a new spot so that we can let that spot rest and recover. That's really how you capture carbon, build soil, build biology in the soil, and plant health and all that stuff, is by giving adequate recovery and not overgrazing it. Well, and also the big part of this is we move them to optimize animal performance, because if you stick them in there, they'll eat all the good stuff, and then they'll eat the stuff that's not as good next, and just down. So it's like their performance goes up really high, but then it drops off. And if you move them every few days or every day, they eat the good stuff, and then a little bit of the worst stuff, and a little bit of the other stuff. So they always have this balanced diet of the ice cream and a little bit that's not quite as good as ice cream. I think the most rewarding aspect is more just working on the farm and being on a ranch and being with the livestock, being outside, being able to work with nature, work with the seasons. Those for me would be the most rewarding things, and being in a place where I can have my kids here at work with me sometimes if I'm not doing something that's too dangerous or with equipment or something. That would be most rewarding, is just outside, cows, pasture, the family, all the people that you meet. A lot of it's the community and the outdoor aspect of it. At first, when Jess and they were coming up, I was like, sure. I wasn't even really thinking about it. It was like, just someone coming to buy cows, or buy heifers, just say. But now that they've come, I'm like, I love these guys. These guys do exactly the kind of thing I love. They're passionate about the same things I'm passionate about. They're raising regenerative animal products, which is like my passion. I mean, I could talk to them about this stuff all day.
There are so many attributes that make Piedmontese unique compared to other breeds. Starting with the live animal, it really ties into the history of the breed, where researchers have traced the legacy of Piedmontese back 25,000 years to this ancient migration of zebu cattle that are Bos indicus. When the cattle hit the Alps, they couldn't migrate any further, and they started crossbreeding with native European bison, Bos taurus. And through that cross, they kind of merged a lot of traits that really help with meat production. So they have hollow hair follicles, they're medullated. That helps regulate temperature. They have more hair follicles per square inch. They have more sweat glands per square inch. So just on that side, they can handle 120 degree heat with humidity and sub 60 degree winter temperatures. They're very regional, climate adaptable. They're fine boned. They have strong feet. We sent cattle to the Big Island of Hawaii, where they walk on lava ground. They still graze in Italy at 8,000 feet in the Alps. Those traits end up impacting the meat quality because the animal doesn't get stressed. They remain calm. Getting into the unique attributes of the meat, they have muscle fibers that are a 16th of the diameter of a normal muscle fiber. And what typically makes meat tough or chewy is the connective tissue between muscle fibers, the collagen. And the collagen between Piedmontese and muscle fibers is extremely fine. So you end up with this extremely lean, extremely tender cut of meat that's at the apex of quality because the animal itself, while it's alive, is influencing that so heavily. The idea for Monzo really stemmed from our desire to have a beef product on the market that I had always wanted to see, that I always knew was possible. And my goal starting out was to provide the best beef eating experience possible. I had always heard that it was one of the healthiest meats, especially one of the healthiest red meats, but I wanted to see it for myself. After my grandfather had passed away, we had finally achieved in our seed stock herd our goals. We reached the number of cows that we really wanted to have in the herd, and I was reflecting on what my goals would be for the future. And it really went back to the very beginning of why I even got into the cattle with my grandpa in the first place. And I really wanted to see Piedmontese beef available nationwide, readily available everywhere. There really needed to be a flagship product that got people excited, that showcased the abilities of a 100% full-blood Piedmontese animal. So I started from a first principles perspective of what is the goal, and that's the best possible eating experience with beef. Okay, how do we do that? Well, it's going to start with working backwards, how the meat is cut, how the animal is finished, and getting back to the genetics. And so we sent a meat scientist to Italy to learn how to cut the meat. We worked with an animal nutritionist to figure out supporting the animal's nutrition and impacting the flavor positively. We saw that no one else was going to do it, so we took it upon ourselves to launch an independent, family-run operation where every single animal that goes into the Monzo beef program is not just finished on our farm, it's born on our farm, and the mother cow is bred on our farm. So we are 100% single source for our own beef label. After the first batch of beef that we finished, I immediately sent samples off to a lab to get nutritional analysis performed. And when it came back surpassing my expectations of protein content, low cholesterol, low fat, low saturated fat, low calories, and high omega-6, omega-9, omega-3, it really lived up to the hype and the expectations. Some of the really fun interactions that I've had with chefs in launching Monzo was the feedback that we get and learning with them, because so few people outside of Italy have ever cooked 100% Piedmontese beef, true, real, full-blood meat. And we've come to find that it cooks 50% faster on average across the carcass. The meat is incredibly tender. The top round is as tender as prime ribeye, and the feedback on flavor palette, because of how lean it is, hasn't been negative. It's been extremely positive in that it tastes clean. It tastes like how they imagine beef should taste, and it offers a versatility in cooking where instead of being handicapped by the fat that's already in the meat, they can choose what fats to add in as complementary ingredients. So it adds this versatility across the carcass to what you can do with what have always been considered the lesser cuts. Now, with the entire carcass tenderness being elevated to the midsection, you can do so many different things. You can do carne cruda and carpaccio with the round, which until now has been unheard of, except in Italy. The question I always get is, if it's so great, why have I never heard of this? So part of the reason people have never heard of Piedmontese, or maybe just a little bit, is there's so few animals in North America. There's maybe 6,000 full-blood Piedmontese in the US and Canada combined. And that's compared to 30 million, Angus in the United States alone. Most Piedmontese are used for breeding and growing the population. They're considered too valuable by many breeders to actually use them for beef. So where a lot of Piedmontese beef comes from on the market is crossbreeding and using Piedmontese bulls on commercial herds. And that's where Monzo really differs, is we are maintaining the 100% Piedmontese genetics through to the beef product. So with the cattle, I like a moderate diet that starts when they're weaned and is carried through until harvest. So about a 12 or 13 month period, instead of a 1 month to 3 month period that's very conventional. And we keep a low to moderate ration all the way through that gives time for the ingredients to saturate flavor into the meat. And we influence the flavor with what we feed. So peas, pressed wine grapes, lentils, garbanzo beans, barley, oats, and Timothy grass. We did find that the full-blood Piedmontese, because they produce about 30% more meat per carcass, more muscle, they need a higher protein input in their daily diet. And that's where the peas come in. And then we've also started looking at additional ingredients to help support their nutritional well-being, and adding in carrots, apples, hazelnuts, walnuts, all things that are nutritionally supportive and also impacting the flavor positively. We ensure the health and wellness of our cattle through all the nutrition, which is with the dry bales of hay that we source from our neighbors. Everything that we feed our cattle originates within 30 miles of our farm. It's how we seed our pastures, the grasses, the alfalfa, clover. Everything is meant to balance the protein and the carbohydrates that they're eating. We make sure they have the best mineral available year-round. We're visually evaluating the cattle as we go, and that is before they get pregnant, while they're pregnant, postpartum. We have a diet plan for every stage of the cow's life, the calf's life, and we're never content to just sit back and continue using what we have. I want to keep talking to our animal nutritionists, to our veterinarians, to find out what we can do better. What is something new that they can offer or have heard about, and how can we integrate even better practices? It's staying hungry to keep improving. Getting it from the horse's mouth is the best. You kind of have to do what Ty and Mark did, and you need to go to a farm. You need to see these animals. You need to see how these animals are worked to actually believe that they're so muscular that I think they can be intimidating to people, and to see how gentle the bulls are really opens people's eyes to what the breed can offer. And then once you have the meat, it just completely changes people's minds. I really hope that Piedmontese can have that opportunity to really shine and step into the spotlight, because everything is about timing. When the breed came to the United States, there was a big shift towards marbled and fattier beef, and Piedmontese is the polar opposite of that. It offers this lean, nutrient-dense experience, and it's something that through the pandemic, a lot of consumers have reflected on their own health and wellness, and over the years we've seen beef products be recommended less and less as part of a healthy diet. And with Piedmontese being on par with skinless chicken, skinless turkey, salmon, swordfish, octopus, it's a great way to put red meat back into everyone's diets. So I hope that in the agricultural sense, the full-blood meat products get consumers excited. That draws the attention of cattle breeders across the country and encourages them to convert their operations to raise at least half Piedmontese calves and eventually full-blood Piedmontese. We could improve meat production, we could improve efficiency. Even in the kitchen, you're going to use 50% less fuel, whether it's electricity or gas, to cook this meat. The fact that Ty and Mark are willing to travel all the way up here at the drop of a hat, just beyond the conversations that we've had building up to this, displays actionable commitment to me, to the plans that they have in place, the ethics that they have with how they're already doing their pork and their chicken. I can see that they have the mindset that can operate an amazing beef label going forward. The conversations we've had about the cattle, the traits they're looking for, it aligns completely with how I built my own herd, the goals that I had for my own beef label starting out. I wouldn't sell cattle to anybody that I didn't feel couldn't uphold that integrity of the animal, of the breed, and I know that these heifers are going to be in great care. This breed is not just a typical breed like anything else. It requires an amazing attention to detail. The animals are amazing. The meat is singular and offers a completely different experience and a completely different future for someone's cattle operation.
I love what Ty's doing. I love what Mark's doing. I think we need more. I mean, honestly, we need more of that. Local food, high quality food that's regenerifying the land and the whole system. I think we just need more of that. I want to go down and see their place and how they're doing it, and go spend a day in their shoes and go work with them. I think it's really neat and awesome what they're doing. And
we're at a very unique situation in life. We primarily are going to focus on this beef being a full-blood 100% Piedmontese that we can provide for the community and for others that have health problems. It's a huge accomplishment for us to get here where we're at, and we're going to keep pushing forward.
How we're going to integrate it is just the same, with the same practices, same regenerative way, multi-species, working with the ecosystem. It's just going to sink in with what we're already currently doing. You can feel the passion that they have for this breed. The amount of knowledge Justin has about it is just it's phenomenal. It's in that he's willing to share that because he cares so much about the integrity of the breed, that he wants to see it be successful, not just with what he can reach with his hand, but what he can reach with others.
I want there to be more full-blood breeders across the country. I want there to be more Piedmontese beef widely available. I don't look at it as competition. Collaboration really is the best word for it, because I also want to see them grow. I want to see more Piedmontese beef produced across the United States, because it offers a healthier nutrient profile for consumers. It offers a better financial proposition for the breeders, and it's just a better impact for the environment. I'm really, really excited to see where Mark and Ty take things. They've displayed such enthusiasm and ambition and a love, such an immediate love for this breed of cattle. I can't imagine it not being an amazing beef product that they're going to come up with.